Good. All right, I'd like to welcome everyone to the February 13th session of the Delaware County Board of Commissioners, and if everyone would join me in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I'm Jeff Benton, President of the Board this year. To my left is Vice President Gary Merrill, and to my right is fellow Commissioner Barb Lewis. County Administrator Farzan Ahmed, Jen Walraven is our clerk today, and we can start.
Resolution number 17-136, in the matter of approving the electronic record of proceedings from regular meeting held February 9th, 2017.
So moved. Second.
Discussion? Vote?
Vote on motion 17-136. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
We do not have any public comment or elected official comment today, so that brings us to item number 4. Resolution number 17-137, in the matter of approving purchase orders and announced certificates and payments of warrants in batch number CM APR 0210.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Vote?
Vote on motion 17-137. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Resolution number 17-138, in the matter of accepting and approving the Delaware County Sheriff's Office Transport Report for the month of January 2017.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Vote?
Vote on motion 17-138. Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Resolution number 17-139, in the matter of awarding a bid and approving a contract for the project known as Del CR 10-0.90.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
Good morning, Commissioners. Rob Riley, Chief Deputy Engineer. As you recall, this our South Old State Road project is a federally funded project. We received 6 bids for this contract. The low bid came from Kenmore Construction, just over $15,049,430. We have not worked with Kenmore before, but they have done quite a bit of work in Central Ohio. I know Farzan mentioned they've done work for ODOT, and so we are recommending award to Kenmore Construction. And just a reminder, this is 80% federally funded.
I assume they have a good reputation?
They have done some really good projects in Central Ohio. The last one they did was the widening of 750, where you and I broke ground together more than a year ago.
How does this compare to what you were expecting?
The estimate for this contract was about $14.2 million, and so this bid did come in over our estimate, about 5.5%. So that's, I think there's a couple of things working there. The construction marketplace is pretty busy right now. There were a lot of design jobs over the last several years that are getting pushed out to construction. Last year was a big year. This is another big construction year, and so we're seeing some effects of that. And just overall construction inflation, I think we're starting to see the effects of that with the market improving.
What's the timeline on this now, Rob?
That's what I wondered, too.
Yeah, construction would start this summer. If you've driven down South Old State Road, you're seeing some utility work. Poles are being moved right as we speak. The actual road work will start in June of this year and carry through basically all of next year. During that time, traffic will be maintained on Old State Road. There'll be 2 lanes open basically at all times except for some very short duration closures. So it'll be kind of a mess for a while, but it'll be well worth the wait and well worth the pain as we go through it because really the traffic in the area demands this improvement. We would have liked to have done this a long time ago, but we're finally here. So.
Do you think this is the most congested street or area in the county right now?
This is certainly one of them. I don't know that I can think of one that is more congested at this point. This is really one of the few ways to get to Polaris from Orange Township. With the Gemini extension that opened last fall, That did provide some relief to the areas north and east of the interchange. The west part of the interchange is still very much bottlenecked at the Polaris and Old State intersection, so this should dramatically improve that.
Yeah, I use that all the time, and I try to avoid a South Old State.
Yeah.
I remember when South Old State and Polaris was a four-way stop.
I do too.
First started.
I grew up not far from there, and
Wow,
yeah.
things have changed. Okay, yes.
Because of how congested, as the Commissioner pointed out, how congested this area is, you know very well that we will get a lot of complaints from people, so I was going to request you to make sure that Jane stays abreast of the schedule and things like that.
Absolutely.
On the bright side, when Ken Moore started working on 750 on their own, they went door to door and distributed flyers introducing themselves and giving the name of the superintendent in case residents had concerns. I thought that was very impressive, and I hope that they will have that same outlook towards public outreach for this project for us.
That would certainly help. Okay, further discussion?
No.
Vote?
Vote on motion 17-139, Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Resolution number 17-140, in the matter of approving a bid specification and setting the bid opening date and time for the 2017 asphalt materials.
So moved. Oh, second?
Discussion?
Each year, we go out to bid for various asphalt materials, and these are the liquid asphalts as well as the hot mix asphalt materials. This is separate from our annual countywide resurfacing project. These materials are used by our own crews as well as townships to maintain roads and do repairs throughout the summer and fall months. So we are asking for your approval to go out to bid for these various materials.
What's your expectation versus pricing from last year?
I don't know that we have enough data yet. We'll start to see some of the asphalt bids come in, particularly with the hot mix asphalts, because this is a relatively low dollar amount type of contract. But when we go out to bid for our annual resurfacing project, which is about $7 million this year, is what it's looking like, and that's including the townships and the county portion. We'll start to see, and some of the agencies around Central Ohio do bid the contract before us, so we'll get a good indicator at that time.
Well, oil prices aren't really that bad right now. This is pretty much, you're just talking about the material.
This is just the materials, so
Theoretically, you wouldn't expect it to be much out of line with last year, I wouldn't think.
yeah, last year was a good year. Prices went down significantly with the price of crude at historical lows, at least within the last 15 years. So
We're talking about $50 a barrel roughly right now,
Yeah.
give or take. So.
Do all the townships and other jurisdictions take advantage of this?
not every township or local. We do offer, basically the way this works is we get the price from the vendor for the material, and then if a vendor wants to purchase that particular product, they can go directly to the vendor and make a purchase order. They don't have to go through us, but our contract with the vendor guarantees that they honor that price for any of our cooperative purchasing partners.
Vote?
Vote on motion 17-140, Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Resolution number 17-141, in the matter of establishing a maintenance bond for Vinmar Village Section 2.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion. The work has been completed on the street and stormwater improvements at Vinmar Village Section 2. This includes 33 single-family subdivision lots. And so at this time, we are recommending that the streets be placed on the one-year developer maintenance period and establish a maintenance bond to secure that maintenance for the next year.
Okay.
Vote?
Vote on motion 17-141, Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Resolution number 17-142, in the matter of approving the owner's agreement for Glenmead Section 1, Phase A.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion?
This is a, let's see, how many lots is this? This is a 9-lot subdivision, Glenmead. This is located just behind Cheshire Elementary, so this would secure the street and stormwater improvements for that section.
Vote?
Vote on motion 17-142, Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Resolution number 17-143, in the matter of approving a drainage maintenance petition for Green Lawn Specialist and Glenmead and Mackenzie Ditch.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion.
This is our standard development drainage petition to place the drainage system for each of these developments on the county's drainage maintenance program. Glenmead is the subdivision we just talked about. Greenlawn Specialist is a commercial lot on the south side of Peach Blow Road, just east of Route 23.
These are both 100% owned, the parcels are 100% owned by the petitioner.
That's correct.
So
And as
make the-
prices change over the years, these numbers do get adjusted, is that correct? The drainage estimates?
There is a process to do that. Basically, the base, what we call the base, is the estimated construction cost of the drainage improvements. That can be adjusted every 6 years, and that's actually that's in the statute for the drainage law. And so we've actually been we will be talking with the prosecutor's office about going about that, because we do have some older drainage projects that the base has not been adjusted for some time. So it's a great question and kind of a preview to what's
Well, knowing the
what's
soil and
coming.
water that we do on the individual petitions, it is adjustable. I just wondered how it worked on these.
These are, yes, this falls under the exact same statute, and so this is adjustable.
And obviously, they do change over time, so I'm glad to hear we do have a procedure in place. And we'll be following it, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Vote.
Vote on motion 17-143, Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Resolution number 17-144, in the matter of approving a drainage easement vacation for the Village of Vale Canyon.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
The Village of Vale Canyon is a condominium development located just north of Powell Road. The owner of that development has requested that we vacate a portion of a platted drainage easement to allow, there was a conflict with their proposed development plan, and so they have actually already dedicated new drainage easements to make up for this drainage easement that they are asking to be vacated. And so we've reviewed that. We don't think there's any problem with the hydraulic or the engineering aspects of that, and we recommend approval.
Vote.
Vote on motion 17-144, Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Resolution number 17-145, in the matter of conveying right-of-way work purchased for the Dell CR 124-1.88 improvements to the Ohio Department of Transportation.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
You'll recall that several years ago, we improved the intersection of State Route 257 and Section Line Road with roundabouts. That project was funded through Mid-Ohio Regional Planning Commission, federal highway funds. So the way that worked, the additional right-of-way that was needed for the Route 257 work was purchased in the county's name, knowing that at some time in the future we would need to dedicate that to ODOT, and so that way ODOT would own the right-of-way to maintain their state route. So that's what we are asking for today. Those portions of the project and those right-of-way parcels that are directly along State Route 257 that ODOT needs to maintain 257, we are proposing to convey those by a quitclaim deed back to ODOT.
There's no financial impact to the county. I mean, ODOT would already be maintaining those parcels.
That's correct. These parcels were paid for 80% by the federal funds at that time. Of course, the federal funds also paid for the non-State Route 257 parts too. So,
Good. All right, vote.
Vote on motion 17-145, Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Resolution number 17-146, in the matter of declaring the necessity for improvements to Klondike Road and approving plans, specifications, estimates, and setting the bid date for Dell TR 149-2.57.
So moved.
Second.
All right, discussion.
we have a culvert that's located about, it's about a half mile south of Route 36 on Klondike Road, which runs parallel to the Scioto River on the east side. Back in June of last year, you may recall there were some really significant flood events in Delaware County, particularly across the central portion of the county. During one of those storms, a large discharge from this creek, which is called Steel Crider Ditch, actually washed out a portion of the the large metal culvert. And since that time, we've actually been monitoring this culvert, preparing plans, knowing that at some point we would need to replace it. And so that erosion has actually gone a lot faster than we thought. Fortunately, we did have the plans ready to proceed with the replacement of this structure. We did apply. Ohio Public Works Commission has a emergency funding program, and so we were successful in obtaining about $297,000 from the OPWC Emergency Project Fund to help pay for this. Overall, this is a $550,000 construction project, and we are proposing to go out to bid and have that built by June this year.
So the construction work would be done by June?
Yes,
Would
done by
Klondike
June.
be closed?
It is currently closed. Actually, I think it was right after Christmas. We did our routine inspection and found that the erosion had advanced actually very close to the roadway, and so we closed the road at that time. Over about the last 5 or 6 weeks, we've been wrapping up the plans and getting the bid documents together, and that brings us to today.
The question I have is this just repairing the damage, or will it be if this another similar event occurred, will this solve that problem, make sure it doesn't reoccur?
Yes, great question. This will actually replace the structure in its entirety, replace it with what we think is a more modern and appropriate structure, which is supported on pile foundations, driven piles that would be resistant to scour and erosion that we've had like this event.
Okay.
Vote?
Vote on motion 17-146. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Resolution number 17-147, in the matter of approving right-of-way work permit summary sheet.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
We had just one permit application this round. My staff has reviewed the plans for this work, and we recommend approval.
Okay. Vote?
Vote on motion 17-147. Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Thank you.
Bob,
Yes.
one question. Today, the Smothers Road Bridge closure goes into effect until July. Smothers goes over Hoover, the middle bridge there over Hoover. So the Franklin County engineer did a good job of informing people, though, because he mailed us all. I don't know how far the notice is extended, but did get a notice on the timeline and kind of a general, well, it was just a general idea of what they're doing, but I've been asked, what are they doing exactly? Because it was closed, I don't know, maybe a year ago before, and they put big rocks, more big rocks, and
Yeah, the work about a year and a half ago, I won't get too deep into the weeds, but basically the causeway across Hoover Reservoir is owned and maintained by the city of Columbus, because Hoover Reservoir was a Columbus water supply project. The bridge itself is maintained by Franklin County, and that goes back to an agreement almost 60 years ago between Delaware County and Franklin County, because we were I don't know, fortunate or unfortunate, I guess. We got most of the water bodies and the bridges that go over them. So if you think about the bridges around Galena, the bridges on Red Bank Road, we inherited some very big, expensive
Yes.
bridges that we've actually had to replace in the last 5 years, 10 years. So now the Franklin County is proceeding with it's a rehabilitation. They're not replacing the substructure, so all the concrete stays, but they're replacing the beams and the bridge deck.
Okay.
So the top half of the bridge over the next 4 months, and that will be closed while they're doing that work. The bridge just isn't wide enough to maintain one lane while the other half is being replaced. So it will be closed for the next 4 months to put a new top on the bridge, and so that's what they're doing.
okay, so above the concrete.
Correct.
That's what they're doing, right? Someone asked me if they were widening it. I said, I don't think so. I don't think they could. That would be a real.
They're not. I think it may be widened very slightly, but really the causeway is the constraint there. So to do any significant widening would be a hugely expensive
Yes.
project to widen the causeway as well. So they're getting as much width out of the concrete substructure allows
Okay.
in the event at some point, because the bridges are generally designed to last at least 50 years, and so that Hoover Dam was built in the 1950s, and so it's lived its life, at least the top half of the bridge has anyway, and so yeah, that's
Okay. Oh, thank you.
what's going on.
Great. Thank you.
Okay. A lot going on.
Yes.
All right.
Resolution number 17-148, a resolution of necessity for purchase or lease of automobiles for use of the county sheriff or his employees.
So moved.
Second. Good discussion.
Good morning, Scott Nance, Captain, Sheriff's Office. This is a request for vehicles as part of our normal fleet maintenance. I've talked to you about that before. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have concerning it.
So these are all budgeted,
That's correct.
planned, obviously?
These are frontline vehicles, the SUVs that you see the general deputies driving on the first response cars.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks,
Vote.
Captain.
Thank you.
Vote on motion 17-148, Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thanks, Captain.
Resolution number 17-149, a resolution authorizing the acceptance and awarding of the bid and approving a contract submitted by Inspect Coatings Incorporated for the project known as the CDBG PY 2016 Activity to Ashley Water Tower.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Good morning, I'm Jenna Jackson, the Economic Development Coordinator. This is a project that we went out to bid for January 11th, and Inspect Coatings, Inc. was the lowest and best bidder, and I recommend your approval.
How did this bid turn out versus what we were expecting?
We actually had 4 bids, which was better than what we expected, and I know that from what the engineer told me, when they do water towers, they need to go out to bid early in the year because contractors' plates fill up, and this is kind of something minor on their radar, so that's why it was good to get out in the beginning of January and get it.
How about the cost? Did the cost come in where you expected?
Luckily, the engineer had built in some options, so even though the general base bids were kind of high, we were able to get optional bid that fit into the engineer's estimate.
Okay. All right, vote.
Vote on motion 17-149, Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jenna.
Thanks, Jenna.
Resolution number 17-150, a resolution of necessity for purchase or lease of an automobile for the use of the Delaware County Facilities Maintenance.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Good morning, John Melvin, Director of Facilities. This was in our budget to replace one of our maintenance vans. The current 03 GMC is beyond service. We did look at the current fleet, and we're actually going out to purchase a smaller van, be used by our painter, try to be more efficient. So that's our recommendation.
Okay.
Vote.
Vote on motion 17-150, Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Do not have the pricing yet for the next item.
We're going to skip number 18 for now, and we will come back to that. And that brings us, I believe, to Administrator reports on page 481.
Okay. Here's on.
I'm glad Rob came back because I was going to ask him, what would you do for a Klondike
Trying to
Bridge?
sneak out.
The only thing I have to report on is it will be my pleasure to speak for Delaware County today at the Rotary Club, and I intend to speak about our various departments which are under the Board of Commissioners, and especially how we measure their output. What are the metrics? How do we know a department is doing a good job? Those are some of the things I'll talk about. So that's all I have.
Which Rotary Club? The Delaware Rotary?
Delaware.
Okay. All right. Commissioner Lewis.
And I have nothing to report.
All right. Commissioner Merrill.
A couple of things. I may be putting you on the spot because I don't know if you were directly involved in it or not. The immersion project Friday with the Shanahan students, did that go well, or?
My apologies. I should have talked about that. Yes. We had 120 students from the Shanahan Middle School that visited the emergency services on Friday. And so big shout out to Sandy Mackey and Sean Miller and many people from our EMS group who also participated in teaching these students about all the different things that that go on in terms of emergency services. This room was full, and so was that room
Oh, my
across
gosh, both.
on the other side, and students enjoyed it. And this was our first year, and from what I hear, we want to do this every year. So a great way to teach students what happens in the community, and great outreach for our teams.
Is that something you rotate around schools, or the same school would come back? You said you do it again.
That's a very good question. We were approached by this particular school. So I think that's one of the things that we will discuss with Sandy and Sean and myself. We'll probably talk about how should we do this, and we'll get Jane involved in that conversation. Should we reach out to schools, or should we maybe open it up to every school and just maybe have an EMS day once a year and invite schools to come in, or anyone from the community to come in for that
I
matter?
would think they would find that interesting. Yes. Students.
Had good coverage from the Gazette on that, too.
I do have a couple other things. I think we all got the email, I think it came from George, it may have also come from Coshocton, regarding, they had passed a resolution stating their position on the Medicare. I would support a similar thing on the part of our county if the other commissioners agree.
Yeah, I have not had a chance to review that, but the general principle I certainly support.
Yeah. We can bring it before the board.
Maybe we'll look at the resolution, make sure it's consistent with how we view things, and move forward.
Yeah, I'm sure that'll be a topic at the legislative meeting with CCAO.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to change anything other than puts us on record for how we feel about it, because there's certainly going to have to be a lot of individual meetings on this topic to get a change in direction.
Yeah, and there seem to be a lot of different groups that are moving, trying to move this agenda item forward from different areas of the state.
And the only other thing I have, Trezon's a little modest. He's speaking at Rotary today, and I happen to be a member of the Rotary. I didn't have anything to do with him speaking, but I'm glad he is, and I look forward to hearing it. I know the membership of Delaware Rotary will as well. So
That should be interesting. Thanks for that. It's good representation of the
thank
county. Is it? Okay, just a couple quick things. The DKMM board meeting is tomorrow, then the active shooter class is Wednesday. And again, I would encourage everyone to sign up for that if they're able to make it. It's something that we have to be prepared for, even though it's something we don't want to obviously have happen. Preparation is important. So anyway, that's all I have, and I see Director Melvin coming back in and shaking his head no, which must mean that we're no bids.
could I offer a suggestion? We're going to be recessing for this hearing this afternoon. We could do it this afternoon, couldn't we?
Well, hopefully by the time you don't leave that night for executive.
Yeah. And that's a good lead-in, Jen?
Resolution number 17-151, in the matter of adjourning into executive session for consideration of employment, promotion, and compensation of a public employee or public official.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, vote.
Vote on motion 17-151. Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Okay, we're in executive session.